Está. Y muy buenos días. Bienvenidos y bienvenidas. Espero que ustedes estén bien. Hope everybody's good. Sí, bien. Feliz miércoles. Happy Wednesday. Ah,
Igualmente.
sí. Bueno, um, espero que ustedes puedan hablar. I did have a suggestion when we get to the segment where you're telling your little mini stories. It's always a good idea to keep the stories fairly short and really, actually, more to the point. If your story involves a special kind of vocabulary that people will not know, and you'll see because I'm going to use an example that was sent to me by email by one of our folks who's gone today. Um, uh, Always define, take a minute to look through what you wanted to say. And if there's some special word that really is key to know what's going on, but people won't know it, define before you start your little spiel, what that word is. And I'll show you how that works because I'll do that when I start off the examples. Okay, bueno, vamos a empezar. Primero con el artículo. We're going to finish our article as a warm-up, as a, means to starting talking a little bit and getting used to it. Would you prefer to do it as a shadowing or just read on shadowing? Sí, says Carrie. Okay, gracias, gracias. Bien. Okay, and actually I took a couple of sentences out and cut some things down to make them easier because some of another thing, and this is a good thing because we started talking about what people are reading to help themselves with Spanish. Another thing to remember is that a lot of times with reading, you wind up, because it's a printed article, you wind up with very, very long sentences, which would be normal for writing, but would not be normal for conversation. And sometimes when you get clauses that are strung on, it can make it a little overly complicated, which is why I took about, I think, two sentences out
Mhm.
here and really did a chop chop. So if you read it ahead of time, you'll probably mentally kind of notice there's some little change. And yeah, sometimes it's important to do that. Okay. Excelente. Vamos a empezar aquí con shadowing, and I won't necessarily see you raise your hand. So, if there's somebody who wants to start off doing some reading with me for warm up, levanten la mano, raise your hand. Sí, o díganme, tell me. Quiero leer, quiero leer. ¿Hay
I'll
alguien que
start.
quiere leer? Anybody wants to start? No. Okay.
I will. I
Oh,
will.
bien, bien.
Carrie.
Bueno, bueno,
Carrie.
bueno, Carrie. Okay. La pobre Carrie, poor Carrie. She's the one person that got chopped off my share screen, so I could not see
Oh.
anything. Okay. A la vanguardia
Excuse me. A la vanguardia
de esa tendencia,
de esa tendencia,
Hidalgo,
Hidalgo,
alcalde de París,
alcalde de París,
por el Partido Socialista
por el Partido Socialista,
desde 2014,
desde 2014,
bien, apoya grandes cambios
apoya grandes cambios
para la ciudad
para la ciudad
durante años.
durante años.
Okay. And I try to break these up for shadowing into smaller chunks that would fall together in the end. So at the vanguard, so at the forefront, right? At the forefront of this trend, this tendencia. It looks like tendency, and it can mean a tendency, but here it's referring to a trend, right? And this is the tail end of our creating a walking culture in one particular city. So at the vanguard of this trend, Hidalgo, the miracles with the Socialist Party, that's what she belongs to, since 2014. Apoya means supports. She's behind. She backs. She supports or backs big changes for the city for a number of years. The durante does mean during, but many times durante can be used to say for a number of years, okay, for a duration. Ok, una frase más, Carrie, por favor. Durante la última década,
Durante la última década,
cerró alrededor de 220
cerró alrededor de 220.
Yeah. Now this one, and actually because it's talking about calles, 220,
Oh,
200 femenina, 220
220
calles al tráfico.
calles al tráfico.
Impuso límites de velocidad
Impuso límites de velocidad
más estrictos.
más estrictos.
¿Eh? Eliminó miles de lugares de estacionamiento.
Eliminó miles de lugares de estacionamiento.
Aumentó las tarifas
Aumentó las tarifas
para los vehículos
para los vehículos
de altas emisiones
de altas emisiones
y construyó
y construyó
más de 300 millas,
construyó más de 300 millas
de nuevos carriles
de nuevos carriles
para bicicletas,
para bicicletas para reducir
la contaminación del aire.
la contaminación del aire.
Okay, es una frase larga. This is really long sentence. So, in the last decade, or during the last decade, or for the last, well, no, here it would be during the last decade, it closed, and here they're talking about Paris, the city, as a thing, right? Or she closed. Hidalgo, she closed. She closed around 220 streets traffic, imposed stricter speed limits, límites de velocidad, some speed limits, see? She eliminated thousands of parking spots,
Spots,
parking
yeah.
places, right? And she increased fees for high emission vehicles, okay? And she constructed more than 300 miles of new lanes for bikes to reduce air pollution.
Pregunta,
Sí, dime.
300, aquí
Ah,
300.
es una
I,
cosita. This is a
I
little
thought it was
thing.
always
Yeah.
cientos.
Por lo general. In most cases, por lo general, el número que, que alguien necesita saber es el número en masculino.
Sí.
When we get to hundreds, this is a thing. In counting numbers, when we get to the hundreds, there is a thumb. When you're going through uno, dos, tres, 20, 20, 40, 40, 80, 80, no pasa nada. It's no big deal because those numbers are always what they are. 20 is always 20, 40 is always 40, 80 is always 80. When you get to that hundreds block, technically there are feminine forms for the hundreds. And it will look at the noun it's talking about. Now, most of the time, you don't need, as a Spanish speaking, somebody's learning Spanish, most of the time, you don't need to know that there are feminine forms for the hundreds. One, because if you're just talking about prices, it'll be 300, right? 400, 200, it'll be those, right? Prices are just flat out the number you learned originally. But if I'm talking about calles, which is a feminine noun, it'll be 200, a feminine form, 220, or 300 millas. Millas is femenina, right? Miles is feminine. It'll be 300 millas. If you got that wrong and just said 300, no pasa nada. It's no big deal, really. That's the teeniest of speed bumps, and nobody will think, gee, your Spanish is terrible, because it's kind of a minor thing, okay? And it's not really emphasized when you learn those numbers and drill them, because we don't drill the feminine forms as a general rule. Your hurdle as a learner is to know the number, which we'll learn in the masculine form. Okay, bien?
Gracias.
Bien. And so in most cases, don't sweat over figuring out masculine and feminine on a map, because if you're looking at prices, what something costs, nobody's going to use those hundreds in a feminine form. And that's usually what we're looking at. Prices of things, hotel rooms, stuff you're buying in the market, prices on any items you're buying in a store. So, yeah. Okay, vale. Vamos a continuar. We're going to keep going. ¿Quién quiere leer? Gracias, Carrie. Thank you, Carrie. And we have lots of past, and all these are things that are definite actions, right? Close, impose. That's kind of an unusual word. It comes from imponer, right? Eliminar becomes eliminó. Aumentar, to raise up, because it becomes aumentó. Okay. Bien. Vale. ¿Quién quiere continuar? Who wants to take the next stint here? Next bit. Okay. Vale, magnífico. And I will start off so you know how you're supposed to chunk it. See, el año pasado, los votantes
votantes
aprobaron
aprobaron
una nueva tarifa
una nueva tarifa
para que los SUV
para que los SUV
y otros vehículos,
y otros vehículos
muy bien, más grandes
más grandes
y contaminantes
y caminantes
se estacionen
se estacionen
en la ciudad.
en la ciudad.
See, last year, the voters approved a new rate, a new fee, tarifa here is a fee, so that SUVs and other bigger vehicles, contaminating, polluting vehicles, right, might park in the city. So you have to pay a higher fee for parking within the city. And the reason this is not se estacionan with an AN, but se estacionen with an EN, is because of this phrase here, para qué, so that they might have to park. Para qué, not para, but para qué, always requires subjunctive. Okay.
Marilyn, I've got a quick question before
Sí,
you
sí,
move on.
sí.
The word aprobaron,
Mm-hmm.
are there any rules of thumb as far as uh, the consonants? Like I would have thought that this would have been like aprobaron with
Oh, like what you punch harder, which syllable you punch harder?
um,
Yeah,
if
okay.
it doesn't have an apostrophe.
Why is it aprobaron and not aprobaron?
Yeah.
Okay, okay. That is stress. We call that stress. Stress just means which syllable you punch. Okay.
Uh-huh.
There are rules. Gracias. And aprobaron. I'm going to write it right below so that you can have them right close to each other and you can see those. Let's isolate this little bit aprobaron. See my keyboard better. Aprobaron. Okay. Definitely, 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 no doubt about it. That ba is what gets a harder punch, and it must. It must. This cannot be pronounced aprobaron. It must be pronounced aprobaron. There is a rule, and this is a rule that Spanish has that they apply very consistently. It has to do with look at the last letter of the word. And it doesn't matter if the word is a verb or a noun or a preposition, any word, the last letter always dictates which syllable gets my punch. Okay, but any word that ends in a vowel, so that means A-E-I-O-U, right? Or the letter N or the letter S. That always means we stress second to last syllable. Harder. We give it more time. Okay.
Interesante.
Yeah, okay. And that means if when you see the word aprobaron and there's no accent mark, there's no written accent mark, we know we have to here, here's our end syllable, our last syllable. We punch the ba. Probado. Okay.
It's good. Take some karate.
Yeah. So let's test that out a little bit here, Pablo. Buena pregunta. It's a good question because when you read and then you say it out loud, right? If you're thinking it's aprobaron and then you hear me saying aprobaron, you're like, uh-oh, right? Your brain does a little skip. Boom, boom. Okay, so let's test that out. Vowel. Last letter is a vowel. The word pasado, pasado. Do is the end, right?
Yep.
Pasado. That
Tante.
sa will be the syllable that you punch harder because it's second to last. Last letter is a vowel, second to last gets the punch. Okay, well, let's look at a word that ends in S. Right? We've got votantes, votantes. Es is the last syllable. Actually, the way that was spelled is a pace. Second to last will be tan, votantes, votantes. That's what's going to get the punch. See, okay, bien.
So are there any rules for stressing the first consonant then? If there are no punctuation marks?
This is the first kind of rule. What's the last letter of the word? The last letter of the word is a vowel, A-E-I-O-U, or N, the letter N, or the letter S. What if it's not N or S or a vowel? Okay. Rule number 2. Whoop.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stop traffic here.
Yeah, no. That's exactly why we have these warm loops and these things. This is kind of what we call rule number 2. What if the last letter isn't N, S, or a vowel? Okay, there's a rule for that too. Stress the last syllable. Stress the last syllable. And we've got a word we can look to for this rule right here. That
Right.
last letter in ciudad is not a vowel or N or S. It's a D. And that means we're going to punch the end syllable harder. Okay. So you're going to punch that hard. Ciudad. It won't be ciudad. It'll be ciudad. Ciudad. Okay. Okay. Vale. So these are kind of, I'm going to put this in parentheses here. These are kind of, no, not kind of, they are rules for stress. They are rules for which syllable to stress or punch a little harder with your voice, right? Give more emphasis with your voice. Okay, so
Perfect.
those are there too. Now, if a word breaks either one of those 2 rules, last letter of vowel or N or S, rule number 2, it doesn't follow those, it's not one of those letters, right? If the way we pronounce a word breaks one of those 2 rules, that's why you wind up seeing accent marks. So let's see why, because we've got some examples of why that happens. Accent marks happen generally for 2 reasons. One, there will be some little word that just gets an accent mark to distinguish it from another word that's spelled the same way. It's a written thing. Like this word mess. Mess is only 1 syllable.
Mhm.
Yet it's got an accent mark. Why does it have that? Well, must means more. And this word, there is another word, must, spelled the same, but it has a different definition, right? Must is I'm going to say kind of an antiquated word. You don't hear it very much. You might read it in old literature. It means the same thing as pero, but you don't hear people using it in conversation that way. This word must is real super common. It means more. We use the word more all the time, right? I'm driving more these days. I'm spending more in the supermarket these days, right? Anytime you need that word must, it's super common. It just carries an accent mark. The word pe can mean to you, right? But pe, that means the tea that you drink, a different definition gets an accent mark. Okay, the word mi, if I want to say mi carro, my car, no accent mark. If I want to say, oh, this gift, it's for me, es para mí, that me gets an accent mark. That's one reason we have accents. Itty bitty, tiny, short words, where you have 2 words that are spelled the same, but they have different definitions. And I'll give you a real quick rundown. Actually, I put this in a little file for you, but words like me, meaning my, or me, meaning me, the person, right? Hey, meaning somebody's doing something to you or reflexive, right? And hey, the substance that you drink. Yeah. That mass and mass is kind of an outlier. You don't really hear mass used without an accent very much anymore. Yeah. Okay. And there are a number of words that'll do some of that. So anyway, yeah. Anytime you see an accent mark that is written down, and it's not one of those shorty words, if it's a longer word and you see an accent mark, the vast majority of words that have an accent mark, actually. Those accent marks are there because the word is, the way we say the word breaks what the rule is. The rule is last letter vowel or NRS, or not the last letter be NRS or vowel, right? Not the last letter. And so let's take a look at this one. Ultima, last, okay? Ultima ends in an a vowel. So normally, a normal person would think, hey, second to last syllable.
Il
But
tuba.
nobody pronounces that
Ultima.
word, ultima. And you know what? For you, you would probably say that sounds funny, and it sounds funny because nobody ever pronounces it that way. They want to say the last, they'll say ultima, right? So you hear that word a lot. That's a common word, the last day, last time, right? Last piece of something, last piece of pizza. So, okay. We don't, the way we pronounce that word breaks that rule of vowel, punch the second to last syllable. And because it breaks that rule, we need to, for the reader, for the convenience of the reader, we need to write in the accent mark and say, hey, here's where you are going to punch. And that's why in Spanish, accent marks happen. In some languages like French, an accent mark will actually be a different pronunciation of a vowel.
Hmm.
Yeah. But that's not the case in Spanish. That O, the letter U in there, isn't pronounced differently. It's still O. It's just that we're punching the syllable more than the other three.
Mhm.
Ultima. Ultima. And it's a written accent mark because it's a signal, a red flag to the reader that, hey, we're going to break that rule of last letter being vowel, second to last punch. No. Here instead is what you're going to punch. Okay. So it's a warning flag. Same thing with this. The way we pronounce this word, decade, breaks the usual rule. The usual rule is, ooh, last letter of the word is a vowel. Well, hey, we should punch the second to last syllable. But nobody pronounces that word decada. Decada. All right, it's decada. So because the way we pronounce that word breaks the stress pattern rule, we have to have a written accent mark there, right? Let's take a look at this one. Aha. Last word or last letter of the word, last letter is an O, a vowel, right? But this is a preterite and it punches the end, right? So we do not say enemigo. Enemigo is actually, it is a word, it's a present tense word. I eliminate, but that's like in present right now. So if you want to say she cut out, she eliminated, we have to use past tense. And that past tense always punches the end. And because we're signaling, hey, we're breaking the stress pattern, we have to have a written accent.
Got it. I've got one more question then. So,
Sí, sí.
the paragraph above, socialista,
Uh-huh.
why isn't the second I punctuated?
Oh, why is there no accent mark?
Yeah, because if it ends in a vowel, wouldn't the second consonant be stressed?
Yep. This follows a rule, ends in an So here are the syllables. So, sial, actually I put that all in there. Here are the vowels. Here are the syllables. So, sia, li, sta. Ends in an second to the last syllable is li. We
Oh,
do
second to
punch.
the last. I'm sorry. I thought you
Socialista.
said second of the word. My fault.
Socialista.
I got
Socialista.
Gotcha.
See? Bien? Okay.
Can I, just one quick question then.
Uh-huh.
So I know you've said this before because I got messed up with this. Like when IA is at the end of a word. So when you have an I followed by an A, that's just kind of like one vowel, right?
Yeah, okay, so here is maybe what I would call as maybe a trickier a twist on that. Okay, and this gets a little bit into the weeds, but actually we have two words in here that, and we're gonna take this one because this is maybe a more common word. And actually, we're gonna take that word too, because that's super common. Okay. What happens when you have two vowels together like that? That is called a diphthong. Who cares? It's a diphthong. And what that means is there are two vowels that are right next to each other there. And in Spanish, our tendency is to blend those together. So really that forms a single sound because they're gliding together. And there are things too with weak vowels and strong vowels. And to be honest with you, I don't pay attention to that very much. But ia is a really common, those are two common vowels to string together in a word. You're gonna see words that do that on a pretty regular basis. So this xia it is one vowel that or one syllable that they slide together. They slide together. They make one sound essentially. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Right? Okay. And I'm going to show you in a minute why that's important. Okay, so ends in an a. We know that xia is the ending sound. That's the last syllable. So, okay, second to last is den. So the word is tendencia, tendencia, tendencia. Okay. No accent mark needed. The xia at the end, they flow together. Xia, 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 tendencia, tendencia. Okay. Same thing with, let's look at cambios. If we made that singular, because singular, I mean, it's a plural noun right there, but the yo is pronounced, they slide together. They slide together. Okay, so that counts as one syllable. So the yo is the last syllable, and the ends in the vowel. So second to last is cambio, cambio. Follows the rule, don't need an accent mark. Okay, so yeah, let's take an example that won't be like tendencia. Something that also ends in an IA. So I want to show you, sometimes you're going to see words where the I and the A glide together. No accent mark because they're supposed to glide together or slide together and make one smooth sound. Sometimes an I and an A won't slide together. Sometimes the way we pronounce it punches either well, in this case, it'll be the E. It's going to punch one of those two vowels harder than the other. Okay, so let me pick a word. I'm going to pick a word which is a place where you buy fruit, a fruit stand. Yeah, and there I've got, just like in tendencia, I have an ia, but I've got an accent mark here because I don't want these to slide and blend together beautifully. I need to punch one of those two sounds more. And that's why that word carries an accent mark, because what we're doing is instead of the expected, we slide them together. I'm punching the E harder than the A. Fruteria. Fruteria, right? Fruteria, the way we pronounce it, punches the E sound more than the A sound at the end, and therefore it needs an accent mark. Tendencia follows the rules, so I don't need an accent mark written because the ya flows together at the end, and therefore we punch the tendencia. Okay, see?
The
Accent marks are really, they can kind of, for the person who is a casual learner, they can kind of blow your mind, but, in fact, they follow really, really set rules, set patterns. And,
It's
Yeah.
very helpful. The two
Okay.
rules are going to help me a lot. Thank you.
yeah. Stress rules are accent marks principally serve a purpose of giving a red flag for this word isn't going to be pronounced like the written rule tells you. I'm going to show you where you put more punch instead. And therefore, I'm going to write the accent mark over that vowel where I punch harder. It's a red flag. I'm a rule breaker. Watch for the accent mark so you know what to punch. That's generally the job of an accent mark in Spanish. Okay. And you see here, yeah. It's not tráfico, it's tráfico, right? It's not, and I have to think hard because this isn't the way to pronounce. It's not vehículos, it's vehículos. And we have to ignore the H, the H, vehículos. Yeah, yeah. Okay. I hope that helps. Okay, yeah. And these are always good times to bring up these kind of questions. Okay. A ver. Pablo, did you need me one more sentence to read?
Sure.
Sí, bien. Okay. Vale. Resulta que
Resulta que
el tráfico
el tráfico
de vehículos
vehículos
motorizados
motorizados
bien, disminuyó
disminuyó
más de 40%
más del 40%
en la última década.
en la última década.
Sí, década. ¿Sí? Resulta que it turns out that traffic of motorized vehicles went down. It diminished. That word means diminished, but you would probably say went down or decreased more than 40% in the last decade. Okay. A ver. And here we've got a little así. Oh, ends in a vowel, but the way we say that word, we have to punch the end of that vowel. So that breaks the rule. I need to write that little accent mark on the word así, because we punch the E more than the A. Así. Bien. Okay. Aún así. Sí.
Lo siento. Aún así,
Which just means even so, aún así, no todas las iniciativas
no todas las iniciativas, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it is a tough one. Let's look at just that word. Iniciativas.
Iniciativas.
Bien. Medio. And you know what? I'm going to break this down to medio
Medio
ambientales.
ambientales.
Bien. So when we smash it out together, medio ambientales. See,
Okay.
and that word means environmental. long word in English too, environmental. Medioambientales, medioambientales. De la ciudad
De la ciudad
han sido
han sido
también
también
recibidas
recibidas
por los parisinos.
por los parisinos.
Big. Even so, not all the environmental initiatives of the city have been so well received by Parisians. Okay, meaning not everybody likes what was voted on. Okay. Bien, gracias, Pablo. Okay, ¿quién quiere leer un poquito más? Who wants to read a little more here? Okay, bueno,
I
Lori.
will.
Bien. En 2023,
En 2023,
los parisinos
los parisinos
votaron
votaron
para prohibir
para prohibir
los patinetes. Perdón, I got this on. It's jumping on me. Para prohibir.
los patinetes
Eléctricos
eléctricos
de autoservicio
de autoservicio
en la ciudad.
en la ciudad.
Yeah. Okay. In 2023, Parisians voted to prohibit or forbid electric patinetes. Well, it's a different type of scooter, right? Patinetes have a skate, skateboards type things, yeah. Fue un modo de transporte
Fue un modo de transporte
popular
popular
que provocó
que provocó
la ira
la ira
de funcionarios
de funcionarios
y residentes
y residentes
por igual debido
por igual debido
a un creciente número
a un creciente número
de accidentes.
de accidentes.
It was a popular means of transportation that provoked the ire of bureaucrats and residents alike, owing to the growing number of accidents. So people getting in accidents with these scooter thingies, yeah? Sí, bien. Desde su introducción
Desde su introducción
en 2018,
en 2018,
los scooters,
los scooters
conocidos localmente
conocidos localmente
como patinet, es una
como
palabra.
tratinete
Sí. Ok. Se promocionaron
se promocionaron
como una alternativa
como una alternativa
ecológica
ecológica
a los automóviles
a los automóviles
y su uso subió
y su uso subió
hasta alcanzar
hasta alcanzar
la tasa más alta de Europa.
la tasa más alta de Europa.
And this word tasa is just a fancier way of saying a number. Okay, a number. It's a fancier way, a more bureaucratic, let's say, use of the word numbers when we're talking about like quantities that people measure. Okay. Bien. Since their introduction in 2018, scooters, and then they tell you that the way that they're called in Paris is patinettes. Yeah. Promoted themselves as an ecological alternative to cars, and their use went up. Subió, went up until it reached the highest number in Europe. So they have the highest number of electric scooter vehicles. Aha, bien. And now we're going to use a feminine 500 word here. We're going to hear not 500. which is the usual pronunciation, but quinientas, because it's going to be talking about personas. Okay. Lori, una frase más, one more, ¿sí? Pero casi 500 personas
Pero casi 500 personas
resultaron heridas
resultaron heridas
en París
en París
por patinetes eléctricos
por patinetes eléctricos
en 2022.
en 2022.
But almost 500 people were injured in Paris by electric scooters. 500 is high. Okay. Es una tasa, it's a number, es una tasa muy alta. Okay. A ver, ¿alguien quiere leer? Anybody want to read a little bit here? Un poquito más. Bien. Okay. Vale. Sí. Además, muchos parisinos lamentaron cómo los dejaban tirados por todas partes. Besides, many Parisians were sad about, lamented, complained about, how everybody left them thrown around everywhere. Tirados means thrown around, convirtiéndose en un peligro y una monstruosidad en una ciudad que valora la belleza. Turning Paris into a danger and a monstrosity in a city that values beauty. So all these electric scooters tossed all over, por todas partes, everywhere, tossed everywhere. See? Bien, sin embargo, nevertheless, incluso aquellos que apoyan una ciudad más verde y sin coches, criticaron la falta de detalles en el plan y el presupuesto a una media de 500,000 euros por calle peatonal. Nevertheless, even those who supported a greener city without cars criticized the lack of details, right? Or lack of details in the plan and the budget, which is about 500,000 per pedestrian city. For every pedestrian city, 500,000 euros. So it's a high price tag, right? Otros dicen que, others say that, el cierre a la mayor parte del tráfico, the closing of a big most part of the traffic, de la muy turística de Rivoli, no sé cómo se pronuncia. Una arteria principal que desde mayo de 2020 ha sido solo para peatones, ciclistas y autobuses, ha sido un éxito. Others say that the closing of the biggest part of traffic in the very touristic Rivoli Street, I don't know quite how you pronounce that, a main artery, which since 2020 has been just for pedestrians, cyclists, and buses, has been a success. Un éxito is a success, and there's a word with an accent mark because it breaks the stress rule. It's not éxito, it's éxito. So we always have that success word with an accent mark. Y una cita, a quote. Hace unos años había atascos y bocinazos casi constantes en esta zona, declaró Silvia Dauphin, dueño de una tienda en la calle. Hoy la calle está más tranquila y eso ayuda. For years, There have been bottlenecks, like little traffic jams, congestion. There's been congestion and horn honking. Bocinazos is horn honking. Constantly in this area. Sylvia, the femme declared, and she's the owner of a store on the street. Today, the street is calmer, and that helps. Okay, back. Yeah.
Okay, pregunta.
Sí, sí.
That word hace can also be translated as ago, can it not? Like
It
years
can.
ago?
Hace can be used in many ways, so let's take a quick, see. Hace literally means it makes or it does. And hace, when we combine it with a time period,
Mhm.
and it could be hace unos días, it could be hace 2 meses, it could be hace 3 horas. In this case, it's hace unos años. Sometimes it means ago, and here it is kind of the ago. Hace combined with a time period can be an ago phrase, or it can be something has been going on for a period of time. And the key is kind of whatever follows. This is a past idea of había. So there were bottlenecks and horn honking. Okay. That's a past idea. So years ago, there was lots of horn honking and lots of traffic congestion.
Mhm.
So there it means ago. Sometimes when we combine hace with a present verb, it gets a slightly different meaning. Then it means this has been going on for a long period of time when we combine it with a present. When we combine it with a past, it's the idea of ago. But literally, as a Spanish speaking person is thinking, that is just a structure. When we combine hace with a period of time, a chunk of time, they are thinking either that this thing has been going on for that chunk of time, or with the past, this thing happened that ago. They don't have an
Right.
actual word ago, ago
Right.
in English, yeah, but it's the ago phrase. It makes this time that something happened, or it makes this time that this is still going on. They just have a different structure for that. They don't actually have the word ago. It's a whole string of words with a past. That's the way that goes. See, hace is a verb that gets used for month. Hace also gets used for weather expressions.
Yes.
A lot of weather expressions, right? Hace viento, it's windy. Hace sol, it's sunny. Hace calor, it's hot. Yeah, literally, the weather makes a condition. It makes heat, it makes wind. Yeah, it makes those things. So hace gets used in a lot of ways in Spanish. Es flexible. There's a flexible term for it. Okay. Buenas preguntas. Vamos a ver. Quiero saber, I want to know next. Quiero saber. Antes de compartir sus historias, before sharing your little stories, quiero saber si hay alguna pregunta del video de esta semana. I want to know if you had any questions about anything in this story that she was telling. It was meant to be a story that just showed you the different kinds of past tenses and how they blend together to tell a story. Okay, and I'm just going to point out a couple of examples of how we have to mix these two kinds of past tenses that have different conjugations to tell a complete story. There is no way to say we can only use what they call preterito, or we only use imperfecto to tell a story. Inevitably, they get blended, okay? And a kind of general rule is if the idea in English that you're conveying is something was going on or used to happen, if it's descriptive in nature, we use what we call the imperfecto. And that means all the endings will be aba for AR verbs, or ia for ERIR verbs. Okay. But the job of preterito is to tell a very definite thing. That's an event-oriented action. Not a description, but something that happened, done, over, easily over with. Okay. So if I want to talk about things I did in sequence, one event after the other, those will tend to be called preterito, preterite. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to take a look at a couple of examples, and then I'm going to give you my example and we'll take your example.
Quería llegar a casa,
Solo quería llegar a casa. I just wanted to get home,
quitarme los zapatos y
take off my
descansar.
shoes and rest.
Subí las
Marilyn,
And Kerry, sí.
Marilyn, we can't see her. We're looking at us.
Uh-oh. Perdón. Gracias.
And I hate to look at me.
No. Es mi culpa. My fault. I missed a button. Yay. Okay. We're back
Yeah.
a little bit so you can get the whole thing. Oh, yeah, and actually, let's see how these kind of. Oh, yeah. This has got a very good use. You're going to see some things are descriptions. I'm not going to do a rolling translation just of a segment of how a story tends to unfold.
Uno de mis vecinos
One of my neighbors.
vivía al final del pasillo.
One of my neighbors lived at the end of the hall. Okay. And the idea of he lived at the end of the hall doesn't say he lived in that apartment for 5 years, set, lock. No, it just said, in English, you could easily plug in the meaning of that, as we think in English, would be he used to live at the end of the hall, right? We're not talking about how long he had that apartment, just that he used to live there. That clearly means an imperfecto. And because vivir is an adverb, vivía. Okay. Mis vecinos, uno de mis vecinos, one of my neighbors, one of them, that's why it's vivía, singular. One of my neighbors used to live at the end of the hall. And you might say in English just lived, but it can't be vivió there because we're describing he used to do this.
Era un hombre muy simpático.
Now we're describing era un hombre. Era is an imperfecto. He was a really nice guy. Well, it's not an event. We're describing what he was like. He was not a jerk. He was a nice guy. Era un hombre muy simpático.
Pero él y yo no hablábamos mucho.
But he and I didn't talk that much. And here we want to say that you could really, okay, it's not like a one-day thing. We're talking about over the course of like seeing each other every time we come home, or every time we go out for groceries, or every time we leave the building to go out for the evening, right? We're looking at like habitual events. We didn't used to talk. That's why it's hablábamos. And hablamos, the preterite, wouldn't make so much sense there because we're not talking about one time when I saw him in the hall. We're talking about when we would pass by each other. We didn't used to talk. Okay. Él y yo no hablábamos mucho. We didn't used to talk much.
Solo decíamos, hola, bueno.
We would just say, we would every time. And every time it means it's imperfecto, right? Solo decíamos, we just used to say hi.
Buenos días.
Hello,
Un día
today.
yo regresé del trabajo.
Oh, un día yo regresé del trabajo. Now we're talking about one day. Now that happened all the time. Or usually, just one day. Un día regresé. I returned. I came back from work.
Trabajo muy cansado.
And I came back home from work really tired.
Había sido un día muy largo y difícil.
It had been a long, hard day.
Solo quería llegar a casa.
I just wanted to get home. And what I wanted is not, we can't define what I wanted in a period of time. It's how I felt. Many feelings, because they don't have a clear-cut beginning and end, like I came home. What I wanted, I probably wanted to just sack out at home since the time I left the office and the whole drive home. And when I got home. So there's no event connected to that idea of the action of wanted. It's how I was feeling. So it's imperfecto, okay? It's got to be imperfecto in there. Solo quería llegar a casa. I just wanted to get home
Quitarme los zapatos
Take
y
off my shoes.
descansar.
and rest.
Subí las escaleras.
And now we've got what I did that one time. Subí, I went up. Now it's preterito. It's an event. I went up the stairs and it happened. Oh, it'd take 20 seconds, 25 seconds, 30 seconds, half a minute. Don't know. But it's pretty definite. I went up the stairs.
Lentamente y
Slowly.
cuando llegué a mi puerta,
When I got to my door, again, it's an event. I got to my door.
vi una caja.
I saw a box. I saw a box as an event. Oh, I can identify it happened. I saw it. It happened that fast, right? It came in my line of vision. B. I saw a
Era
box.
una caja blanca
Now I'm describing the box. So I can't use preterito. I'm telling you what it looked like. It's a description. It was a white box. Oh, it's a white box. I'm going to get a color. Descriptions in the past use imperfecto as a general rule. Okay.
con una cinta roja.
With a
La
red ribbon.
caja estaba justo enfrente a mi puerta.
And now I'm describing this box even more, not just what it looked like, but where it was positioned. And how long was that box sitting there in front of my door? It's not an event like I went up the stairs. It's just, it was sitting there before I went up the stairs. It was sitting there when I got to the door. It was sitting there a long time. It's still in that realm of description. So estar will not go into pretérito, it'll be imperfecto. La caja estaba justo enfrente a mi puerta. It was positioned, yeah, location. It was just in front of my door.
Encima tenía una nota que decía:
More description. I'm telling you what else I see on top of this box. So tener cannot be an event, but what that box looked like. It had something. It had something attached. Tenía una nota. It had a note that said something. So tenía imperfecto.
"Feliz cumpleaños."
Had a note that said happy birthday.
¿Mm?
Marilyn,
Me
why
quedé.
is decía in imperfect?
It is decía imperfect. That is imperfect.
But why is it that? Why isn't it preterite?
But
Because
okay.
the note said something.
Yes. The note, it's still essentially description. You open the note and there's
Okay.
this thing written in the note. It said this, yeah. It's not the action of somebody actually talking, and that speech is an event. If I said the note said this, It's going to be common to hear la nota decía, the note said. That note was written and that writing was sitting there like forever, long time, don't know how long. But you know what? If the neighbor walked up and said, good morning, and I want to express the idea of, oh, my neighbor said good morning. It won't be decía. It'll be mi vecino me dijo buenos días. Mi vecino me dijo, pretérito, preterite, me dijo buenos días. He said to me, good morning. Okay, that day, that time. It's something quick that came out of his mouth, right?
So
This-
if you said, the note from my neighbor said that conjugation of decir would be preterite or imperfect? Like the note from my neighbor
The
said.
note from the neighbor said, probably imperfecto. Because it's not somebody physically speaking and the speech
Okay.
comes out of their mouth and you hear it right away and it happens and you know it's done. It's something down in paper and it's just sitting there.
Okay.
Yeah. Kind of like
Got it.
the ribbon is on top of the box. It's just there. It's somebody, you're not watching somebody, hey, he tied a ribbon. That's preterito, right? He cut the ribbon. That's preterito. But the box had a ribbon. I'm talking about what it looked like. In the note,
Okay.
it said something. I'm looking at what was written down. It's been there a long time, right? It's not a speech that came out of somebody's mouth. It took them 20 seconds to say something, and that's really short, and it happened, and I heard it, and it's an event. Yeah, see?
Sí, gracias.
Okay, and just a little bit more.
Muy confundido.
Me quedé muy confundido. I was left very confused. Literally, I was like, huh? Quedarse is to be in a certain state. And here she said, the person in sat telling stories, I was confused.
Yo pensé, ¿esta caja es para mí?
I thought this thought came to my head. Here's pretérito, this thought came to my head. I thought, this box is for
Hoy
me.
es mi cumpleaños.
Today's my birthday.
Pero no, mi
But no.
cumpleaños no era ese día.
But my birthday was not that day.
Entonces pensé,
So
bueno,
later I thought, because we're going through just a quick, what occurred to me in my mind,
tal vez es un regalo sorpresa.
maybe it's a surprise gift.
Tal vez mis amigos me quieren dar una sorpresa.
Maybe my friends want to give me some kind of surprise.
Miré a un lado,
And now, I did something. An event. Miré. I looked to one side.
miré al otro lado,
I looked to the other side.
pero no vi a nadie.
I didn't see anybody. Okay. What I didn't see was I looked this way, preterito, because I did it. I looked that way, preterito, because I did it. And no vi a nadie. I didn't see anybody.
Vi la caja otra
Marilyn?
vez.
I saw the box. See,
Why, and a couple times now it's got the B.
oh, I've got a freeze here. Carrie, I think you're frozen. I don't think it's my side. Yeah. Because I see everybody else moving. Oh, Carrie, I think you're back. You
Yeah,
froze up.
sorry. I went out there. So on the couple times we've had B to see or saw, why isn't it accented in the, I don't, like there, no B
It's a
on.
one syllable word. It doesn't need it.
Oh.
Okay. 50 years ago, when I first learned Spanish, you did have to accent that one. And they changed the rule.
Oh,
Because
okay, because it
so many
seems like,
people ignored the rule and
okay.
didn't write an accent on the B. And there is actually a committee of people that gets together from all different countries, like, let's say, they decide, hey, what things need to change? And people started saying, it's stupid to write an accent on. B is a one syllable word. What else am I gonna punch? Seriously? Is there another word B that means something else? No, there isn't. Why do we have an accent mark on this? And they finally started saying no. As a matter of fact, sometimes if people don't like, because really who reads grammar rules, revisions every year? Only teachers. Sometimes you can tell the age of a person if they learned this growing up. They'll use the old rule. Sometimes I'm guilty of that. Yeah. Okay.
No
Thank you.
tenía
Gracias.
Okay.
un nombre.
No tenía un nombre. Didn't have a name on it. And didn't have a name on it is again just a description. So you get the general idea, right? We're looking at descriptions versus events. Okay. All right. Let's do some little short stories. I'm going to give you one to start off for an example. This one comes from Nora. And she's got a nice short thing. And so, okay, the word you may need to know. See, I'll show you. You need to know that llevar means to take a thing or a person. So when we give a person a ride, the verb we want, or you give somebody, you drive somebody somewhere, you don't want to use manejar because you're shoving the person in your car and you're taking them somewhere. That means it's the verb llevar. So she's going to say, I took somebody someplace. So you're going to hear llevar for yo and preterito, and you're going to hear the word multa, ticket. Multa, a ticket. Okay, bien. Hace 2 semanas, there's an hace with a chunk of time. Hace 2 semanas llevé a mi yerno, el esposo de mi hija. Llevé a mi yerno a una cita con la médica. ¿Sí? Llegamos un poco tarde. ¿Sí? Por varias razones. Ustedes ya saben que, que es llegar un poco tarde. Ok. De repente vi a la policía detrás de mi carro. ¿Bien? Eso fue mi sorpresa. That is my surprise. La sorpresa fue ver a la policía detrás de mi carro. El policía me dio una multa que me costó $150. Pero pensé que sería más, but I thought it would be higher. ¿Ok? ¿Entienden? Sí. El policía me dio, the cop gave me dio una multa. ¿Sí? Por manejar muy rápido. ¿Bien? Ok. Otra sorpresa, otra historia, another story. Somebody getting a ticket. Okay, bien, Terry.
So there's a few words in here that I had to look up. I was at a cocktail party, so
Bien.
cócteles and
Cócteles,
aperitivo, aperitivo, appetizer,
aperitivo,
and a syringe, which eringa,
siringa, yeah.
eringa. Okay. So we'll start with that. Yo estaba asistiendo una fiesta de cócteles con mi esposo. Tomé un aperitivo caprese. Ujú.
Ujú.
Comí el tomate, la mozzarella y la hoja de albahaca, basil leaf.
Ujú.
Había una especie de serenga restante, así que la presioné.
Siringa, syringe
Y así,
en el aperitivo.
lleva, estaba lleno de vinagre balsamic.
Oh, vinagre. Pero ella inyectó el
Y así,
vinagre.
ah, so, la presiono, presione en la brisa se lo llevó y fui a parar a la chaqueta de un hombre
Ah, you
por-
squirted somebody. Sí.
que estaba cerca de mí.
Ok,
Oh,
pero ella quiere inyectar el queso, the cheese.
yeah, it was like uh, um, the mozzarella y tomate y basil leaf
Ah,
estaba sobre on this kind of syringe thing. So you're supposed to eat the whole thing at
with a
one time with the
syringe con
balsamic.
siringa. No es un palito, nada en a little stick.
No.
Qué raro. Pero
And
no
it,
es una jeringa de verdad. It's not a real syringe, like
no, but I don't know how else to describe it. Yeah.
Okay, wow,
Interesting.
wow. Okay.
Estaba tan avergonzada.
Yeah, embarrassed. Estaba muy avergonzada. I was embarrassed. Sí.
Mm.
Bien, bien. Gracias. Gracias. Bueno, otra sorpresa. Sí, Lori.
Uh,
Es un poco largo, lo siento. So this is about what happened one night when I was working. Was an ICU nurse, so this is on a night shift. And the first part's about a patient with a Benadryl overdose, and the
Oh,
second part's about what happened on my break.
Gary.
Okay, esto ocurrió en mi trabajo. Un paciente había tomado demasiado Benadryl. Así que estaba loco y inquieto.
Wow.
Uneasy, anxious, restless. Se quitó todos de los aparatos médicos y la ropa. Mientras la doctora y mi jefe estaban de pie a la puerta, discutieron qué hacer. El paciente corrió del cuarto
Wow.
por ellas completamente desnudo
Ah,
a la otra unidad. Los otros enfermeros lo pararon. Entonces las guardias de seguridad y el perro llegaron. Había mucho gritando y ladrando. Era chaos. Por fin el paciente estuvo en su cama y durmiendo. Pero los buenos tiempos no terminaban. Yo necesitaba un descanso, a break. Así que mi buena amiga y yo nos fueron afuera porque mi amiga le gustaba fumar. Por desgracia, ella se le olvidó su teléfono que solía llevar. Cuando volvimos a la unidad, mi otro paciente había coded.
no.
Yeah, my other patient coded. Gracias a Dios, mis colegas lo habían salvado. Era una noche rarísima y probablemente tomé 2 copas de vino esa mañana cuando llegué en casa.
Ok, un sobredosis, an overdose, ¿sí? Y es posible tener un sobredosis de Benadryl,
Oh,
realmente.
sí, y es
Porque
malo.
se toma para alergias, ¿no?
Sí. O
Sí.
para dormir.
O para dormir también, sí. Ok,
Ah, sí, sí,
vale.
sí, sí.
Pero muchas veces en el evento de un sobredosis, un sobredosis, ¿sí? Es, eh, es común tener como comportamiento raro, having strange behavior, sí, como quitar toda la ropa y quitar
Benadryl,
los tubos y cosas de un
sí.
paciente,
So,
sí.
el principal, la persona duerme. Pero después de 6 o 8 horas, está loco,
Wow,
completamente loco. There's a
wow.
saying, it's mad as a hatter, hot as a chili pepper, red as a beet, and there's one other thing that goes with it. But yeah, they're
Yay!
crazy for 30, pero están locos por 24 a 48 horas.
Wow. Un día, 2 días,
Sí,
quizás.
sí.
Okay. Una buena frase, a really nice phrase. When something like this happens and it's kind of a sudden event, me imagino, right? It's like all of a sudden the you know what hits the fan, yeah? And you want to convey that the you know what hits the fan, and this guy or this gal, whoever it was, like just lost it, right? Here's a great way to say this. Se volvió loco. Se volvió loco. Went boom. See? Se volvió loco. Literally went crazy. Yeah. Así. Se volvió loco. Es una manera breve, muy concisa de expresar, sí, eh, este evento. Wow, wow. Pero no es de nada una situación cómica, ¿verdad? Es después del evento, podemos decir, sí, que cómico, pero no es en ese momento. Ok, no lo es. Bien, vale. Bueno, gracias, Carlos. Carlos,
¿Quién?
¿tienes una historia,
Oh,
Carlos?
sí, sí, sí.
Sí, sí, sí.
Ah,
Dinos, tell
ah,
us.
ah, para mi primer trabajo, me uní a departamento académico con 14 profesores. Después de varios años allí, recibí un mensaje de que el decano, the dean, quería verme. Esto fue inusual y me puso muy nervioso. Nos encontramos en su oficina. La conversación amistosa inicial me frustraba. Quería saber por qué estaba allí. Luego me pidió que fuera el jefe del departamento.
Wow,
Estaba completamente sorprendido.
wow,
Le pregunté por qué cuando había 14 profesores mejores que yo. Su respuesta fue impactante. Primero, dijo que no puede trabajar en absoluto con 7 profesores. Luego dijo que ya le había preguntado a los otros 7 y cada uno se negó. Era el único que quedaba.
¡Ah!
Una sorpresa para mí.
Ok, entonces la reunión fue para darte un aumento de posición,
Sí,
un aumento de posición en el departamento, ah, pero por razones raras. Bien, sí. Y, ok, a ver. Eso sí, chistoso. Interesante. Bien. ¿Hay alguien más? Anybody else? ¿Alguien más con una historia? ¿Algo más? ¿Algo más? ¿No? ¿No? Ok. Bien. Ah, tengo que ver. Ok, voy a decirles algo interesante que esto me pasó, happened to me, me pasó esta mañana. Como a las 8 de la mañana. ¿Ok? Salí de mi casa y quería comprar algunas cosas en Sephora que estaban de oferta. Estaban de oferta en Sephora, sí. Cuando hay una oferta con los huevos, hay que salir rápidamente durante las primeras horas de la mañana. ah, ah, ok, entonces salí de mi casa y noté que había un sonido raro en el garaje, un sonido raro. Y ah, miré debajo de mi carro y tengo, mm, tengo varias cosas como trampas, ¿sí? Hay trampas de pegamento. There are glue traps. Hay trampas de pegamento en el garaje para los ratones, sí, los ratones que, bueno, tienen éxito en entrar en el garaje. Y bueno, tenía éxito en atrapar un ratón esta mañana en la trampa de pegamento. Pero el ratón todavía estaba vivo. Y evidentemente era un ratón bastante inteligente porque empezó a comer el papel de la trampa, ¿sí? Porque trataba de librarse. He was trying to free himself. Trataba de librarse, así que empezó a comer la parte de papel de la trampa, pero no tenía éxito porque lo maté, I killed him, lo maté de inmediato. Ok, a ver, tengo muchas aventuras con los ratones que tengo que atrapar y matar en mi garaje. Bien, ok.
Tiene valor, tiene valor. Yo llamé a mi esposo.
Bueno, Ellos tenía una reunión con su trabajo, así que no pudo ayudarme en, en esta ocasión. En esta ocasión, no, no.
No me importa, no me importa.
Y él siempre me dice, puedes matarlo, sabes que puedes matarlo. Ok, es fácil, es fácil. Tenemos que eliminar todos los ratones que entran en el garaje, porque pueden destruir las partes del carro, ¿no? La- las conexiones en el motor sí, del motor del carro. Ok.
¿Cómo mataste?
¿Cómo?
¿Cómo lo mataste?
Lo hice. Con, con el zapato. ¡Pum!
Oh,
Y eso es. Rápido. ¡Pum! Nada. Ok.
A qué Safeway?
¿A qué se fue?
In Phoenix?
Oh, no, en Taos.
Oh,
Sí. Sí. Los huevos están en oferta. Eggs are on sale. Sí. Que vayan, go. Ok. Bien. Bueno, eso es todo. That's it. You're going to get a new listening video for the week. I will send you some directions for some storytelling for next week, something short and sweet. And do think about keeping it super short. Keep it to like a couple of sentences. You can, it doesn't have to be as long as the videos, because the videos obviously are there to give you experience with, listening long term, but short little stories. And think about isolating, vocabulary words, just so you can think ahead to do that for next week. Quick little housekeeping. Next week will be our last class of summer session. That ends the summer session. They have a couple weeks off because of Labor Day. They assume people are going to be out of town. So August 20th, what is it? Sí, 13, okay. Bien, el 20 de agosto, 20th will be our last class, and after that starts up September 8th. So I think we need about 3 more people to sign up to make September a go, para que sepan, just so you know, if you haven't signed up, think about doing that. Y eso es todo, bien. Gracias por participar. Muchísimas gracias. Espero que tengan muy buen fin de. I hope you have a really good weekend.
Sí.
Sí, que
tú
todo
también.
vaya bien. Everything can go well. Hasta luego. Sí, y cuídense. Cuídense, cuídense. Mi botón